The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on.
And that's President-elect Donald Trump accusing the administration, the Biden administration, of withholding information about the mysterious drones flying across the Northeast. The Biden administration still claiming that they pose no threat and are now deploying drone detection technology and infrared cameras to help investigate drones over New Jersey and New York. But still, they say no threat. Joining me now is Fox News contributor, national security analyst, and drone expert, Brett Velicovich. Brett, good to see you. Your reaction?
Good morning. Well, President Trump knows a lot more than you can possibly imagine when it comes to this technology as well. I mean, he was dealing with the counter drone systems in his own administration, so he got to see the technology and what's out there. And so, if he says that our government more than likely knows what's going on, he's probably right. But what I've been really focused on lately is not whether or not these drone sightings are adversarial or whether or not they're some sort of military testing. I've been really focused on the fact that our government is spending a lot of time not putting the proper technology in place at a widespread level across the U.S. to protect Americans. I mean, we do have the technology to stop this. I just think at a widespread level, we're not doing it enough in the U.S. domestically. We send a lot of our counter drone technology overseas. Our DoD is really the best organization that's equipped to be able to use this tech, but yet we don't typically have the DoD deployed on U.S. soil. And so you've got different agencies, different departments that are all involved at various layers of this, and there's not a lot of coordination taking place. So you've got a number of government officials that are all saying different things, and I think that's what's led to this mass hysteria, this mass confusion of the public. More information just keeps getting spread at all kinds of different levels that are just causing chaos, and that's something that's got to stop. We got to get a handle on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I keep asking the question, why do we buy drones from China? We buy drones from DJI, and our military uses those drones. So, I mean, it's completely counterproductive to be buying drones for our military from the adversary, but we're still doing it.
Yeah, well, we are to an extent, but that is slowly changing. For instance, a company, Red Cat Holdings, just released their Black Widow drone, which is essentially a EW anti-jam resistant drone that's going to start being provided to many infantry soldiers across the U.S. And that's really the government's push to start changing the technology and putting it into America's hands. But part of the problem is we've really destroyed our industrial base, our drone technology industrial base over the last 10 years because of the policies that have been put in place, particularly by the FAA, that just really stifled a lot of innovation. It's forced people to want to use Chinese drones because the technology is developed better. They've been able to export that technology. We've really focused on high-level drones that sit up in the air, fly thousands of miles away, sit up in the air thousands of feet. And the Chinese came in and they started focusing on these smaller level drones, these handheld systems, and they really just crushed it in terms of getting it out there in massive scale. Yeah. And so we're slowly
that still doesn't justify why we're using drones from China. And this is not just one-sided. I mean, both sides of the aisle believe this. I asked Raja Krishnamurthy, who is the ranking member on the Chinese Select Committee, about this on Sunday. Watch.
Because they're cheap. But the problem is, you are basically sacrificing our national security in the name of buying more inexpensive drones. And in the process, you're preventing a domestic drone industry from getting stood up. And so what we're saying is, no, you cannot use tax dollars to buy this stuff. And we are incentivizing American drone manufacturers to make more so that there are more trusted partners making these drones that law enforcement or others can buy.
So even though I know there is an effort to stop buying new drones from DJI, which is a Chinese company, there are still so many drones already in place in the military that were made by DJI. We're not ripping those out. So we're still at this national security risk. And then there's this story. A New Jersey drone pilot revealed that his device lost power and fell from the sky in restricted airspace near the Picatinny Arsenal Army facility. He was attempting to get a closer look at a larger unidentified object, which he said was also a drone. He claims the mysterious drone he was trying to investigate managed to stay airborne, despite a signal designed to shut down legal drones, Brett. So his drone goes down. The drone he's trying to investigate stays airborne.
Well, that's indicative of advanced technology that we see every day on the lines of Ukraine. There are anti-jamming systems that are put into drones now that make them very difficult to jam. A DJI drone is relatively easy to send a signal to stop that frequency and get it out of the area of interest. But right now, a lot of drones overseas, you're adding these special systems, which are also made in China in a lot of cases, that are jam resistant. That's the new way of warfare. It's happening every single day. But you know, you talk about China, but there's something else I want to talk about, and that's Ukraine. Look, I'm a fan of Ukraine, but we are sending tens of millions of dollars over there to help develop their drone technology and their counter drone technology as part of the Ukrainian aid package. We send a ton of money over there to support their production, and what it's done is it's slowly been destroying our own industrial base. I say no more money to Ukraine for drone technology until we solve this problem in New Jersey, because other countries' technology is a lot better than ours, in fact.
Wow.
And you know, I would even ask that President Trump tries to get Ukrainian technology brought back to the U.S. and maybe used to protect our areas that are under concern, sensitive sites, because their tech is a lot better than us, and heck, we paid for it at this point over the last few years.
Well, that's incredible, Brett. I mean, that's such a statement that is a scary statement, to say that all of these other technologies, whether it's China or Ukraine, are better than the U.S.'s. Why? Because we haven't invested in this stuff enough over the years? How did they get so far ahead of America with this important technology?
It's the investment. It's the necessity for war. When you know, on the front lines of Ukraine right now, they are out of necessity having to build this type of drone technology. It's this cat and mouse game between technology that can penetrate the front lines and conduct strikes in enemy territory, and between that and then the counter systems that are actually able to jam that. So you're seeing this rapid innovation that's taking place over there. And then international countries are all sending their equipment in, so they get to test it and make the sort of the best of the best. And we need to take those lessons learned and start implementing in our own military to make our systems even better, because our systems really are not the best anymore. We are not the most the biggest power in this space like we used to be.
Well, that's too bad. That's discouraging. Brett, we'll see how President Trump deals with all of this. Thanks very much for pointing it out. Brett Velicovich.